Okay, welcome everybody. I hope you've got the time to join. I see people are joining us right now. My name is Eftychis Kantarakis, as you can see from my desktop here, my background. I'm a teacher trainer working for National Geographic Learning, and today I'm going to present what I call biting the bullet or changing the Greek ELT. In fact, this will be the result of a survey I conducted starting on the 27th of April. And I asked people this very simple question: how to teach English in Greece from September 2020? And I asked this question because I genuinely wanted to know. So many things have changed since the lockdown, and different people had different ideas about what September will look like. And working in this field for something like 20 something years, I thought that this was going to be something that would probably change completely the way the status quo of ELT was. Okay, a few things about the survey, first of all. Who was asked and who answered. I knew that being a TESOL Greece member and also the SIG coordinator for the Learning Technologies group for a number of years, my immediate professional network would probably jump to some conclusions depending concerning technology. I thought that they were the ones that would be the first to say technology is great, let's go to that and move on. So I tactfully tried to avoid them. Not completely, of course, but I tried to share my questionnaire through Facebook groups of the Panhellenic Association of Language School Owners around Greece, and also some groups that are run mainly by private language teachers. I want to get as broader a spectrum as possible. So who answered? A total of 338 ELT professionals. Now, it's important that 165 of them were actually private language school owners, which represents roughly about 2.5 of the total population of PLS owners in Greece. Or to put in another way, 1 in 40 of all the PLS owners in Greece answer this. I call this quite a good sample. And of course, there were 143 other ELT professionals. Okay, so now we know that more or less it covered a very broad sample of ELT professionals. The first question I wanted to ask, because I was really scared that this was going to be answered by mainly, young teachers just out in the business and ready to jump to, we want technology and enough with the old, on with the new. But what I saw was that the vast majority actually has been teaching English, of the people who answer this, have been teaching English for a very long time. 47.2 taught for more than 20 years, 22.6 for more than 16 years, 16.3 for more than 11. That means that around 80% of the people who answered have teaching experience of more than 10 years. Okay, so whatever came here would be the outcome of some real experience in teaching ELT. Okay, so let's go for the first question, the feeling question. What do you think your teaching situation will be in September 2020? I gave some options here. So the first one was, I will go back to teaching face-to-face. This was a one-time crisis. It's not going to happen again. Okay, worse things can happen, so what? We're off and done with this. The other option, from now on, I'm going to teach face-to-face, but be ready to change to online learning if need be. Now, the third option, I'll be doing blended learning. We'll teach mainly face-to-face, but we'll incorporate online teaching as well. Now, having been in the ELT business in Greece for quite a while now, I know that typically around 20% of the ELT teachers use or are willing to use some form of blended learning in their teaching. So I was really curious, has this changed? Has this been more than 20 now? The next option would be, I am moving to completely teaching online. I will do limited face-to-face teaching. Okay, so let's see the results. First of all, I don't know how many of you will be surprised by the fact that the people who thought that this was a one-time crisis and we'll go back to teaching in our lovely classroom from now on. No more problem whatsoever. They were 1.8%. Literally 5 people said that we will go back where we were. Almost 52% said that they would be ready to change to online learning if need be. Those are the people that know or believe that from now on, things are not going to be the same. As for the blended learning that used to be 20%, it's now almost 40%. They will mainly teach face-to-face and incorporate online teaching as well. It might not be so surprising to many of you, but the fact that even 7.1% of the people asked say that they are moving to completely digital online, I find this a very large percentage. Next question. Fine, so you'll be doing online lessons. What are online lessons? What do you mean by online lessons? So again, I gave a few options. At the beginning of the lockdown, there were very different schools of thought around what we should be doing as online lessons. So there was this idea that we should only be focusing on revision. So send them worksheets and send them PDFs with exercises. They will send it back and just focus on what they've already done. So now we will just keep in touch and wait it out. And there were also others that thought that online lessons really were just like regular lessons, and we should be moving on with the syllabus. Don't stop now, don't pause and wait. We should move on. Or could it be that the online lessons are just for fun activities, nothing else? And I left an open field as well. I said other, and I was waiting for different answers. Now, the people who thought that this was just for revision, 8%. The people that thought that they should go on and this was really proper lessons, only online, 76%. The people who thought that this was just for fun activities, 2.4%. Now, other actually is 13.6%, and this actually came with a rainbow of different options about it. But I'll stay with a minute for the 76% who believe now, that was about a month after the lockdown, that lessons should really be going on with the syllabus. So what did the others say? Here are some ideas. Something I wish I could avoid, only in emergency situations. Moving on with syllabus because I have no other choice. Nothing but an ultimate necessity. And there were some in the middle that said something like, can be good, a good way to complement the face-to-face as well as the lessons in class. Some called it inevitable and a way to work beyond our classrooms, or like regular lessons, but pose limitations as far as monitoring is concerned. So there were other concerns as well here, like how can you monitor the students? Just like regular lessons, moving on with the syllabus, but more working hours, different kinds of concerns. And there were others that said they're a future, or maybe the future, a whole new world, liked it. Interesting, more flexible, and of at least equal quality. That's because many people said that online lessons are not of equal quality, definitely different, okay? Different ways to teach, different mediums, sure. But as far as quality, that's debatable. Oh yes, sorry Galaxy, it seems you raised your hand. I'm not quite sure what to do when people raise their hands. Should I raise my hand as well? No? Okay, maybe at the end we can also answer some of the questions. I'm sure we will have some time for that as well. Okay, now, I like the last one the most. First of all, oh yeah, sorry, to enrich traditional face-to-face, enrich, so complement, make it more, face-to-face lesson in a more appealing way, especially for young audiences. And finally, my favorite, it's a window to offer students more opportunities to explore the language. That came from Daphne Kostadinidou, an EFL teacher who was kind enough to allow me to use her name as well. Now, okay, so what are synchronous lessons? Synchronous lessons for me mean a video conference where I share the IWB on my screen. Everyone has their printed copies of the book. Students have the printed copies and some have digital versions. Are we ready to move away from the printed book? Maybe use an iPad or a tablet or a digital version of the book. Could it be without any printed book, but with a digital version of them? How close is the Greek ELT to moving actually to using digital books as well? Would that be the opportunity? So just 14.5. Oh, by the way, before I move on, people could choose multiple choices here. So they didn't have to choose just one. That's why the total does not add up to 100. Okay, so you could say what I use the IWB and the digital versions of the book. Still, only 14.5% said that they want digital books. Almost double that said that they would do it with digital or printed books. But more than half said that they want the printed books, they still want the printed books, and really, synchronous lesson means I share my IWB software on my screen. Fine, okay, so this is synchronous. What about asynchronous? Again, I gave options. Using apps that I find, such as Quizlet, Kazoo, Padlet, or so many others. Maybe students doing online practice provided by the publisher. Now, this is important. As many of you might know, I do work for a publisher, and we create platforms or LMSs, learning management systems, where we create our own content that comes with a book. Now, do teachers need that? Do they want that? And if they want that, do they go for the first option where they say, I use this material, but I will not have to assign any homework. I will not have to check on them. I will just set it and self-paced, self-study, do it whenever you want. Or will I use it, but I need to assign homework. I need to check on them. I need to see their progress. Or maybe I'm using a learning management system, an LMS, with resources that I find and I create. And finally, maybe a synchronous lesson, it just means sending worksheets via email and receiving the answers and nothing much else. That's all I need. I'll just email some PDFs. Okay, so starting from the bottom. 38% actually think or feel that asynchronous lessons are using, sending worksheets via email. Very few chose just that, nevertheless. I like the 48.4% that said using an LMS with material and resources that I create. I will come back to that in a bit. From the next two options, 43% said I want to check on them, and only 16.9% said I will assign it as homework. That shows that when you give them, when the teachers get that extra content created by the publishers, they still mainly want it done under supervision. And finally, 41.2% said that asynchronous lessons means using Kazoo, Padlet, Quizlet, or so many others. Now, what I really liked here was the option about using an LMS with resources I find or create. Why did I like it so much? Because it shows that the Greek ELT is still creative. The part that says I create the content means that the teachers want to contribute to creating content for their students. Now, for many of you, this might be self-explanatory. Say, of course, how else could you do it? Not for everyone, and not around the world. So I'm really proud of the Greek ELT for this particular answer. Okay, so what material will I use? September is just around the corner. What will you want? Option A, same as I have always used. Don't planning to do any changes. Books that have some online resources, such as the PDFs or the worksheets that I can email, maybe. I need to change to books that offer options for online teaching, both synchronous and asynchronous. Change here being the key word. Because as we all know, we all want change, but everybody wants to change. We expect it just to happen and just suit our needs. But if we are to change ourselves, that's a different kettle of fish. Finally, I will use only digital options, digital coursebook, online workbooks, no printed materials. 21% said that they would use the same as they have always used. A bit less than 15%, they just want books with PDFs. 57.6% said that they need to change to books that offer options for online teaching, both synchronous and asynchronous. Now that started to show me that we are ready to bite the bullet. We are ready to take the pain and change in a way that will enable us to be productive, creative, and at the forefront of our profession. We need to change to books that offer these options. And there was even a 6.2% that said, I will only use digital options, nothing printed. Okay, interesting. But how confident are you? And how has confidence changed from before COVID-19 to now? First of all, how confident are you in using Zoom or Skype or Teams or I don't know, any other platform for synchronous learning? As you can see, at the beginning, before COVID, I would say it was spread rather evenly. Possibly a bit on the left side, where the non-so-confident side is, and there was even almost 20% who said they were very confident. Has this changed after COVID-19? Oh yeah, it has. Oh yeah, it has so much. Almost half say that they are very confident. 38, almost 40% say that they are quite confident. More importantly, only 1.5, or if you wanted it in numbers, I think it was 6 people who said that they were not confident. Okay, if you want to see it in one picture, this is before, how confident people felt about using Zoom, Skype, Teams, and etc. And this is now, how confident we, as ELT in Greece, feel now. But that's for synchronous learning. How about asynchronous learning? About things like, Moodle or LMS or MyELT, which is actually the LMS used by National Geographic, or any other asynchronous form of teaching. This was before. You can see that people were not so confident even before. More people are down on the not confident side than on the very confident side. And although this changed after COVID, it didn't change as much. Here's the before and here's the after on how confident we feel about using asynchronous learning tools like LMSs like Moodle or MyELT. It has changed, but still only 33% say that they're very confident. 30% say that they're quite confident. The confidence side has remained more or less the same. So just to put this in perspective, this is how confident people feel after COVID-19 about using Zoom, Skype, and everything else. This is how confident they feel about using asynchronous platforms. To me, that shows that because the need to change was geared mainly towards running synchronous lessons, face-to-face, through a computer screen, of course, but really working on under the emergency of going on with the lessons, people became more accustomed to using the synchronous platforms. May I say that if people want to be able to do blended learning and use that after COVID-19 and possibly after October or November, when we might have to go under lockdown as well, we need to become much more confident in terms of asynchronous teaching as well. We need to learn our LMS, we need to learn the apps that will help us become more confident, but really we need to also focus on the asynchronous learning tools. Okay, so will it affect the books that I will buy? That was my next question. And like I said, I work for a publisher, and this kind of question is really important to me. But also when I did the survey, my second line was, let's help publishers. So this was not just for me. That's why I'm sharing this with everybody. Okay, so I gave options. The 6 options I gave were really packs. So printed course books and other components, no digital component. I will not use any ebooks or whatever else. Printed course books and other components with some offline digital component, what we usually call in Greece ebooks or interactive ebooks. Maybe printed course book, but this time with some online workbook, hinting on an LMS here, through an online system such as my ELT. Maybe I want to move to completely digital components, digital course books, or no printed component whatsoever. That would be nice. Or last option, the same as the previous one, only this time, apart from all digital course book, I also will use some online platform, some LMS maybe for the part of the workbook. Now, just bear in mind, I cannot see the chat right now. I see many people that are sending questions. I'm afraid I won't be able to answer right now. Just one thing, yes, this was mainly for the private sector, not so much for the state schools. And at least the people who answered these questions were mainly from this field of the private sector, private teachers or private language school owners or εκπαιδευτήριων teachers as well. Okay, so let's see. First option, like I said before, was printed course books and other component, no digital component. How possible would it be? You won't be surprised to see that now way more than half, actually almost 70%, consider it slightly possible to not possible, that they would not need some digital component. If I add a digital component to that, and for that I used a picture from an ebook from the company I work for, just to clarify what I need, what I mean as an ebook, completely changed. So printed course books and other components, but with an ebook. Around 65 to 70% said that it was either possible, quite possible, or very possible. Okay, what if I give you an online LMS, an online workbook, like my ELT, since, like I said, that's the one I had at the ready. That's what it looks like. Around 42% plus 31%, around 70-something% said that they will want the course book, sure, maybe the companion and other material, but online workbook, an LMS, my ELT, or whatever else every publisher has to offer. All digital course books and components, no printed component whatsoever. How possible was that? Oh, how much I would love for people to say, yeah, we want that. All digital course book, no printed component. Nope, nope, wishful thinking. No, the Greek market is clearly not ready for that. I'd say that some people, actually around 15%, if you count the quite possible and the very possible together, would be willing to try just digital coursebook, no printed components, but no, not really ready for that as a total. What if I add at least an online workbook? What if I add an LMS to that? Would that change things? Well, not so much, just a bit. So the very possible and quite possible now are around 20% as opposed to the 15% that it was before. But still, the all digital solution is not the best option as considered by the Greek ELT yet. I have faith that this will change in the near future. Okay, so what would you ask your students to buy? That's the $1 million question. I mean, any publisher would like to know that. What would you ask your students to buy? You want to know what you think? Again, I gave the same options. Printed students book, workbook, grammar book, companion. Printed students book, workbook, grammar book, companion with interactive ebook. Printed books, printed grammar book, companion, but online workbook. The same, but online workbook and online word list. So no companion, no printed companion, an online word list to download instead. How about all digital components, even the student's book, or all digital components, but with an LMS for the workbook? As you remember, in my first slide on the choices, the first package where everything is just printed, nothing else, received the lowest preference. That's how many people want it with an ebook. Everything printed and an ebook. But 19% want the online workbook and another 26.5% on the online workbook and the word list. If you put these two together, that's 45% of the market that actually want to change to something that includes an LMS. Something that they can work, instead of using the actual workbook, for example, to using an online version of that. Yeah, 4.1 just want everything digital, nothing else, but they don't mind if everything digital also comes with an online workbook and an LMS. Okay, that's not so bad because I can add this 11.6, I can add it to this percentage here, which means that more people want a total of 55, 56% actually want to use an LMS, whether that is with digital books or it is with printed books. They want to use a learning management system that could include the workbook or some other component from the whole package. Now, the last question I had was really an open question. It was, how do you think ELT in Greece will be different from now on? Many people actually answered that, and I'm thankful for the answers I received. I'm going to share some of them with you. Oh, before I share, those are the key words that appeared in the comments. As you can see, words like teaching, sure, okay, learning, yes, but online, blended, face-to-face, think about what I'm going to do, online material, digital teaching, digital material, and adapt and change. These were the words that appeared the most within the text that I received. Some of the answers. Kimon Panaretos from Patras, a PLS owner, a good friend, said, everything has changed and will change again and again compared to what I was used to when I first started teaching. When COVID-19 came, it was difficult for kids at the beginning, but they are getting used to the new environment. I do hope I go back to the classroom, but we never know. I would choose printed books for the kids, but with digital components so we can have online lessons too. Thank you, Kimon, for this. Another PLS owner, Despina Theodoridou, she said, I believe most students would like to have some printed components of the language they are learning, but from now on, everyone will start using digital forms of books as well. As for us teachers, as soon as we adapt to the new situation, we are going to understand that it will be to our advantage. Finally, EFL teacher, Evie Germany said, I reckon this will be a challenge for most of us, especially in terms of equipment and time management. Schools that offer foreign language lessons will have to adapt to the new situation, but I believe it will be easier for teachers that have already been using digital material. I'm quite confident that in terms of teaching, it will be extremely interesting and invigorate, but I'm deeply concerned as far as working conditions at schools are concerned. Yeah, it's not just we move to a different situation where we use a screen to teach lessons. Other considerations need to be taken into consideration. My conclusion out of this is this. Hardship has always led to advances. World War II did wonders for technology in the 20th century. It pushed the world to embrace advancements that we had never dreamed of before. Maybe this is our war. Maybe this is our chance to shine. If you want more, I've already posted some of the results of the survey on my blog, which is called ELT Can Never Bore You. You can find it on eftychis.blogpost.com. Or you can send me an email. You can see my email over there. Please know this. Yes, my blog uses Eftychis with an I. My email uses Eftychis with a Y. I've been doing that for years to distinguish between my two different personalities, the business one and the professional one and the personal one. Now, I'm guessing I can answer some of the questions if we still have the time. Dimitri, do we have the time? Can I answer a question, or I'm good with what we have so far? Dimitri, I cannot hear you, but that's okay. Okay, I see many people thanking me.
Minutes, yes.
We do have a couple of minutes. Okay, so anybody who raised, oh, Q&A, I've got the Q&A here. Good, okay, so what about private teachers and tutors? I think I answered that, meaning that they also participated within this context. So about 173 answers came from a private teacher. Ms. Fotinitsek was, if our first priority is teaching online only, schools are going to close, publishing houses should be aware of that. I respect this opinion, sure. I don't believe that schools are going to close, but I do believe that schools are going to change. This is actually a time to adapt. There was this very old saying that went something like, teachers will never be replaced by computers, but teachers who use computers will be replaced by teachers, but teachers who don't use computers will be replaced by teachers who do. So this is a different way from now on to approach teaching. I'm not saying that this is going to be the only one. There will be more changes. We will see a lot more in the process. How many people took part in this research? I answered this at the beginning. It was 338 people. 164 of them were private language school owners, which represented 2.5 of the whole private language school owners population in Greece. And do you think that the publishers will also help us teachers with online assessments? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We do that all the time. Out of all the publishers out there, I can assure you that all of us have some form of online assessment as well. I'm not going to tell you more about it, but I will invite you tomorrow to my presentation at 2 o'clock, which is to present all the online material by my publisher, the publisher that I work for. Any other question? Do we have any other questions? Yes, one by Ms. Alexandra Vicha. We as teachers have started to adapt. I believe it is parents who are going to have to change as well. Oh, I second that. How can we convince them that blended learning is hopeful for students during the period of coronavirus? Maybe do not consider synchronized learning as real lesson. This is completely up to us. It's up to us to convince them. If we present the lessons as something that we are doing just as something we did during the crisis, but don't worry, we'll go back to what is normal from now on. Yeah, they will not respect the online lessons as much as they respect your face-to-face lessons. If we all realize that this is something that we're doing, not just because it is a part of the crisis, but because it is the next step, eventually people will move into accepting it as equal. It's only a small number of participants. The research, okay, sure, no problem. Students often lack the necessary equipment. What then? That's a very good question. What then? I don't know. They lack the necessary equipment. Eventually, they will have to have it. Think of it this way. If this happened 10 years ago, and we didn't have fiber internet in Greece, we didn't have quick internet or whatever, or we didn't have iPads, I don't know, tablets, what would happen then? It would be a disaster and we wouldn't have moved towards this direction, right? Yeah. But now it has happened at a time when we have it. So it will become even more accessible in the future. Will it be easy and easy peasy? No. There will be hiccups. Of course, there will be hiccups. Were teachers more sensitive? I don't get that, sorry. I think all teachers are sensitive. That's why they have become teachers. We're sensitive creatures. Right. Okay, so I don't see any other Q&A. I see these publishing houses start to rethink creatively to transfer to digital resources instead of printed ones. Yes. Actually, I can tell you this. So many publishers already have the digital solutions that you're looking for. They already have them. Nobody cared in Greece. Nobody wanted to know, because who would use an LMS created by a publisher? Or who would use, I don't know, a digital book on a tablet? It was there. It has been there for many years. And all of a sudden, people realize that they need them. This is what has happened. Right. Okay, so I think it's time to say thank you. If there are any questions, like I said, you can still see my email, you can still see my blog. If you have objections to the result, sure, okay, yeah, I can discuss them. So, yeah, thank you very much. See you tomorrow.